Hi everyone, I'm Gillian. I'm a developer, and I use Git. Who here use Git? Yeah, everyone. That's nice. So every developer now use Git, even designers, but very few schools learns Git at class. I think it's really stupid, but I had the idea to make a program to learn Git and use it and have fun. Oh, amazing. So I started to make Git 3D. So I will make you a fast demo. So here I have a Git folder with many files, folders, yeah, simple, but no files changed. So I will make some change to use it in my Git 3D. So let's say okay. Now I will remove a file. And let's add a file, Grok. Yeah. Grok is so nice. So now you can see I have 3 file changes, okay? Now I go to Git 3D. Okay. Now you can have fun. So Git 3D is a real 3D interface. When you can interact with modified files, you see I only see the 3 files that exchange, so with Git status. So you can see the foo here, the grok, the bar. So, and I have several weapons. Each weapons are Git command. So the simple gun is the header, so I can shoot files to add them. And each rooms are a folder, so I can use my teleports to go to the other folder if I want. Yeah, it's okay. It's empty. I go back. They move. I only have 5 minutes. So I have different weapons: the header, the remover, so git rm, resetter, the committer, commit resetter, you know and the pusher, of course, and the puller when you have to git push. So let's say I will kill Grok. So Grok is now added. So the main idea of Git ready is to make the states of the file is the states of the monster. So when he is added, he's dead and is ready to be committed and then pushed. So I will add the other files. This one is deleted, so I have to use the remover. Yeah, you're dead, you're dead. Now I will commit them. So let's say Grok is dead. So now they are ready to be pushed. So they are all ghosts. So I have to use the pusher. I have a little freeze because it's not asynchronous. I hope I have internet connection. Okay, they are pushed, so they disappeared. Now I can go back in my file system, and you can see it was not a joke. I really pushed too much 20 seconds ago. So Git 3D is just a POC, so I have many things to do if I want to complete this. Different modes. So the normal mode is the one you see here. It's you're in the real folder and you can really push. Training is just a training dungeon, but nothing is really pushed on the internet. And game, you can build your own dungeons while creating files in your dungeons. In your folder, sorry, and you play a real game versus the monsters. I have to add a lot of Git options. Monsters. Let's say the boss is the merge because it's so difficult. I can add an AI, of course, for the game version. And of course, here these assets were not mine. It's Doom and whatever, and many things. So you can share. Imagine Oculus VR, Git 3D, and multiplayer. You help your friend to push, and so it's just a POC. So just vote and say if it's really stupid or if it's awesome. And you can also send me mails to say I'm a douchebag. And I will vote for mine. Yeah.
Next, Andreas, please.
Yeah, that was very hard to beat. So my topic is a bit boring. It's about it's about full text search. You all know text index in version 3. It's 10 years old, but now it's time to move on. I'm going to show you collective elastic index. It's a full text search for Plone based on Elasticsearch 1.6. It's now our own work. It's a fork from the same package from Infray, so it's a bit around. But we made some significant changes. It has a unified interface for live search and extended search. I'm just giving a quick demo after that. We have some better support for monolingual content. So basically, every content, either German, English, or French, is indexed with the language-specific analyzers and so on. So it gives you much better results. We have some configurable search result templates based on the Nunchuck's JS templing engine. We have faceted search and instant feedback. And we'll run on 4.3 and 5.0 is in the making. We're having some problems with JavaScript and CSS registries, but in general, it will work on both systems. So, where's my browser? We're currently not in production, but we're currently running a prototype on our Oncopedia site, which is basically a website based on Plone, containing lots of medical information, guidelines about oncology diseases and so on. So lots of text, and that's basically the only option to open the search. For example, I can search for something like Oncopedia. You'll see that the search starts directly, instantly. It just shows you the standard page. You can have some extended search options. So, for example, you can limit the search by portal type, and the results are shown directly. So, get instant feedback and filter by workflow state or by language, and you have access to all these complex features of Elasticsearch for doing phrase searches and or combinations of searches and searching by, let's say, through thesaurus or stuff like that. And this gives you a much better search experience for the user compared to the out-of-the-box Plone search based on that's the index or even text in G3. So in particular, the search is very fast, and you really get the results that you're expecting. So this brings Plone and the complete search experience to experience like Google-like. That's it.
Okay, I'm trying to cram this into 5 minutes. It's connected dots. I'll try to do 2 subjects. Goal is to have more non-technical talks at PloneCons and make you a bit curious, and Jill forced me to do this. We had a Plone Open Garden early this year, and we had a lot of discussions, and one of them was Plone marketing, and we couldn't really get to figure out how to do it because it's difficult. We all focus on functionality, functionality, and more functionality, but there's markets, countries, target groups. It's so difficult. So I was at a moment saying, should we agree to disagree? But it's too easy. Maybe there's something else we could do, and something I did there in a non-technical presentation was about branding, and it was about what if we could treat Plone as a person and not as a technical thing with all kinds of functionality, and make it a human thing and have that it has personal traits. So it's the A word we had, archetypes. And to my surprise, Plone 5, built with passion. That's not functionality. That's human trade. So, thank you, marketing, communications people. You know who you are. I love these posters. People care, Plone cares about you. And there's still functionality, but it's reframed into what it means to users, and not like a big checklist. So where it gets interesting is that something else struck me a while ago because I saw a tweet that there's also a dark side to this whole personalization and branding and consider the community and Plone. And Matt Hamilton mentioned it yesterday. It's called imposter syndrome. And I think I had quite a bit of a problem with this as well when I started out with Plone many years ago. What you think that you know is very small compared to what I would think that others know. Because actually what's happening in reality on the right is that everybody knows a bit of everything. And you think that you're the loser, but you're starting to compare yourself to the community. That's a bit of a dangerous thing. Matt Hamilton mentioned it yesterday. He switched last year to a completely different community, completely different thing. And he started to think a bit like being a fraud. So branding is great for marketing, but don't compare yourself to the community, because you see all the contributions and the accomplishments of others, and then you start to you could make up a virtual person that doesn't actually exist. So you start to make up a kind of super user. Well, this is sometimes called imposter syndrome, but it's a bit of a difficult label because there's way more to it. It's not just comparing yourself to a big community that doesn't exist, but it's also gender, race, downplay your achievements, ego. So it's a whole big area of all kinds of things. And the internet is a difficult place because it was coined in the 1970s. And it starts now to get a bit of a buzzword. So there are all kinds of schemas on there that do a bit of the same. So the major trick for me was not to get stuck to what I know, but to, when you slowly move to the right, when you get more experienced, and don't get stuck in thinking you're on the left. Actually, sometimes you actually are incompetent. We've all been incompetent. When you start out with something really new, then it's difficult. So something else that I got from reading more on this is don't do this. That also has a fancy name in the psychology world, of course. They all have fancy names. If you're incompetent, you can't know that you're incompetent, because the skills you need to produce a right answer are exactly the skills you need to recognize what the right answer is. Bit of a loophole. To get to something, someone we all are using now on our new posters. Final thing. It's not really related, but if you could read one non-fiction book the next months or years, try this one. How much time is left? Should I continue? Can I continue? Yeah, I can continue? Okay. So on this book, it's Daniel Kahneman. He's a psychologist, more than 80 years old, Nobel Prize winner. Read this. The book is called Thinking Fast and Slow. It's a summary of his research, more than 30, I think 40 years of research. Don't read too much at the same time because it can make you depressed. There's so much in there that all these brain tricks, things that kind of mess you up. Biggest takeaway of all of his research, what it comes down to, is you can see your brain as having two modes, a system 1 and a system 2. And system 1 is your pattern matching system. You see things fast, it goes automatic, it's emotional, it's unconscious. And system 2 is what we developers always do, which is the rational thinking. It takes a lot of effort, you have to focus, You have to calculate, and it's a conscious thing. Going back a bit, why do we have these two systems? It's not getting eaten on the savannah. If you see a lion, you want to be away as fast as you can. You don't want to think, ooh, seems a predator, sharp teeth. Yeah, maybe I should run. So all the rest of his book is going to this system one, system two things, cognitive biases. This is the nice one. If you wouldn't know anything about Plone, and I would ask you how old is Plone? Software project. Software projects are not older than 2, 3, 4 years. If I would ask the same question, but ask if Plone is older or younger than 12 years, you would start to guess around 12 years. You would take that as a reference. So the book is filled with all kinds of things. This is an easy bias. There are 20 or 30 more biases. So do more non-technical stuff.
Okay, I have a build out. I've got some instances, and what I'm got is a separate one that inherits from that, which is the devel.cfg here. I presented on host out years ago. We still use it. It's still around. We're still developing it. What it does is you make these definitions and it wraps Fabric and allows you to deploy an existing running build out into something else. So it was using SSH and it's pushing it into a new server. It sets up Python for you. It wraps up all of your custom packages, sends them over, wraps up your build out, works out what Python version you're running, works out what version of everything else you're running, sends it off there. So what I've done, so you can see that I've got a single definition which uses the parts, the single instance, because it's using this build out. This other one uses another parts. You can point it at different build outs. So you can have one big mega build out that includes everything and then just deploy different bits to different servers. But what I've done in this case is extended it so you'd generally sort of just build it out locally. If I go bin, build out C. So that's going to build it out locally. I've got a local instance and it's going to create a host out, bin host out, and then bin host out. I can then use that to deploy my current build out somewhere else. Blah, blah, blah. So if I go host out, and then if I go single, and then go Docker. So this is no longer using Fabric anymore. What it's doing is building a Docker file. Now I get internet problems. I just restarted my whole computer, which means that boot to Docker is not loaded, which means anyway, what it does is let's switch the presentation. It builds a Docker file, and one of the nice things it does about it is that it lets you actually rerun Docker, rerun build out within Docker. So Docker's not particularly nice for that. Like it basically, it goes and reloads everything again every time. So I set it up so that it'll reuse the same image even when the image fails. If you just put a normal build out inside a Docker file, it basically will reset back to, because build out is one command, and it will reset back to the beginning of build out and then re-download everything, which is not particularly nice. There was one more thing I wanted to show, if I have enough time. Which is theming front and back separately. So in this case, what we've done is we've imported a theme from ThemeForest. We've hardly changed the theme at all. But what we've done, if we go into site setup, we have a look at this theme. The Porto theme, inspect theme. So if we have a look at this rules here. So this is a feature that that I snuck into Plone 5 right at the end. There's this thing called, we've got a new body class called front end. And what it does is it allows you to determine whether you're looking at something that's a public view versus something that has higher permissions, like something like site setup or something. And then we can include Barcelona Letter like this, a special version of Barcelona Letter that is the back-end version. And then we protect our current theme using that particular, where is it? This one here, body.frontend. The consequence is, we can see the consequence here. I'm in setup and it's, yeah, so I'm in setup, I've got, I haven't had to theme any of this. This is not using my front end theme whatsoever. But as soon as I go back, click home up here, suddenly it's all themed. If I hit edit, it's going to go Barcelona Letter. If I go anything else, pretty much sharing, etc. Barcelona Letter, view, suddenly back to my theme. So that's it. Thank you.
Those of you who were at Arnhem might remember that I gave a talk on XMPP integration into Plone. And after that, I removed or refactored out the JavaScript that was used there into a separate project. Many of you already know about that. This talk is not necessarily about that. Called Converse.js. And this is the website. You can log in with any XMPP server account, well, any account. It's a client. It's its own standalone client, but it's written in JavaScript and runs through a website. And I want to show something. This is a new Plone site. Completely new Plone site. I created 3 users. Quickly going to create another user. Note the domain of the website. I don't know why Firefox does this. It's a Plone bug or whatever. Anyway, so notice the domain of the website is opcode.im. And the user is Joe Sixpack. So if I go here and type Joe, the username is just Joe. And I take the same domain. Should work. And I've got other users in the site as well. They are automatically added as roster contacts. What happens here is that the XMPP server is delegating authentication to the Plone site. So the XMPP server asks, I logged in with the Plone credentials. It's the same, username and password from the Plone site. The XMPP server delegates that to the Plone site. Plone says, yeah, it's good. And there's another add-on module. This is for ProCity XMPP server, which is by far the best in my opinion. There's another add-on module which which delegates the roster, the contacts roster, to Plone as well. So normally your XMPP server will handle your roster in the XMPP server as well, and there's often a good reason to do that. But you can also delegate that to the Plone side. Basically, the XMPP server makes a call, a RESTful call to the Plone site and asks who are the contacts of this user. So you could potentially have a social layer in your website where you manage your contacts in the Plone site, and you can still have that persisting on the XMPP layer, or whatever you want to call it, XMPP realm. And this has no Plone backend, right? This is a completely XMPP client. I could also use conversations on Android on my phone, or you can use any client. It's completely removed from Plone. And yeah, that's it.
So I wanted to show off a little bit of an add-on that we have created for the new Jazzcarta site that we just built. A few of you probably came to the presentation that Sally Kleinfeld gave earlier today about this, but in case you did not, I would like to show this thing off just a little bit and give you an opportunity to see something fun in action that provides us with a new way of looking at folders and collections that we have in our Plone sites. So we have a site here for Jazzcarta. Let me go ahead and just make this full screen, and let me reduce the size of it just a little bit so that we can actually see it. And the Jazzcarta site, of course, like everybody who has a web consulting business, you have a projects folder, something like that, where you want to take a look at the various projects that you've done over time. And for our particular projects folder, when you go and take a look at something like this, normally you might see a view that's not particularly exciting or interesting, or maybe you use a cover or something like that to lay out things in tiles so it looks all pretty. But maybe you want people to be able to filter through the things that you're looking at, through the projects, to see the projects that match their needs. If they want a Plone site, if they want a web app, if they want something that's cloud hosted or whatever, they want to get a look at the work that you've done before that matches with what kind of work they're looking for. We've created this view that uses the Isotope JavaScript library and allows you to filter the views that are available or the items that are available either in a folder or a collection. So here we are looking at a bunch of projects. They're all rendered out as these cute little tiles that have pictures in them. And when we say, show us the web applications, boom, you get this set of things that are web applications. Maybe you want to see all of those that are for nonprofits. Maybe you decide instead of looking at web applications, you want to look at all the nonprofit things that we did that were in Plone. Or maybe you want to see everything that I did that was in Plone and had something to do with nonprofits. Or maybe you want to remove all of these things and go back to looking at all of the items in your site. So this is the collective.isotope plugin. It exists. It's out there on GitHub right now. We haven't made an official release of it because it's not really ready for official release yet, but I'd love to get some help at finishing this thing off. To give you an idea of the way that it works, or the things that you have available to you, let's see, I wonder why we lost the, let me go back to view my Plone site. Am I not logged in here? Oh, I'm not. That would explain why I lost the control bar. So let's go log in, and we can take a look at how this works in the background. All right, so when you install this thing, it gives you a little control panel that exists on the back end of your site. So let's pop over there. We'll take a look at the control panel. In the control panel then, for Isotope View settings, you get an opportunity to choose the kinds of things that you would like to be able to use as filters for the items that you're going to view in various folders or collections on your site. The filters are based on metadata columns that are stored in your portal catalog. So if you have some new attribute on some new content type that you've created, all you have to do is make sure that there is a metadata column that exists in your catalog that corresponds to that. You can choose from the list of existing metadata columns. Once you've selected something, you can decide that you want to call it something else. So instead of type, maybe you say thing. And that label that you give to it will be what appears to your users in the front end. Here at the global level then, in addition to filters, we have sortings. I haven't implemented sortings on the front end yet, but it's coming. And you also have various layout modes. How many of you have ever used or interacted with Isotope, the JavaScript library, before? They have a bunch of different kinds of layout modes that you can use. Masonry is this one that allows objects that are of different sizes to kind of close pack together into a brick-like structure. They also have fit rows, which creates just rows that label out in columns and makes a very ordered grid. And then there's a vertical listing here as well that just lists items in a long vertical row. You can choose from those. It would be possible to install extensions to Isotope and then use those extended layout types as well, but the initial version of this package doesn't have any of those things in it. Once then you have created a place where you want to go and use this, for an individual view, you also have available to you the Isotope control panel for your local folder, which allows you to choose from those things which have been made available to you. From the columns that are available as filters, you can choose the ones that you want to use on this particular folder. So in this case, you can see that we've chosen the vertical, the service, the team, the type, and the technology. And what you'll notice when we go to the front end and actually look at the way that this thing looks in real life, there is no button here for type. And the reason for that is because every object that we're looking at here is of the same type. And so the system is smart enough to know that if there's only one value available to you for a particular filter that you've used, it's not going to show you a drop-down list with that one value in it and give you the choice of using it, because that would be pointless. So it's a slightly intelligent system. What I'd like to make a play for is the folks who were doing the JavaScript thing earlier talked about making a pattern out of isotope. I would love to see that happen so I could rip out all of the custom JavaScript that's in here and replace it with a JavaScript pattern and have that available in Patterns Lib. So thank you very much. Enjoy it. Use it in health.
I will show you. I'll show you how to automate a cloud deployment of Plone 5, something that we've done at the start to do at the agency since we have Dockerized everything. So we start to look at the platform as a service for our containers, and so that we go towards continuous deployment. We are still not there, but we will. It's our goal. So what I will demo is a deployment of Plone 5 on multiple hosts. That's important because it's not that easy. And with basically, just in this example, one front-end load balancer at proxy, 2 Plone instances, 1 on each host, 1 zero server on one host. And then I will also show you automatic rolling upgrade of Plone. We end with a possible rollback also. All of this with one command line. So what we use is our Plone 5 images that I think Alan did a lightning talk yesterday, and he showed some example, and then Rancher, which is in beta, but it's soon is maturing a lot. It's very nice if you have looked at it. And so I will have a screencast, so I'm sure it's working. So here we have our Rancher server on our cloud provider, and you log in with GitHub, and then you can see the infrastructure. I have 2 hosts, 102, 103, and you can click on it, and you have a very nice representation of the performance. It's on monitoring and all the containers that are running there, and then you have a place where you can see all the stats, and here basically you have your Plone. You can define your own Plone application with all the components. You can do it through the web, but I will show you via command line. I have all the files on the file system, YAML file. So I will show you you need just 2 files to fill in the orchestration. We have a load balancer, up 1 is Plone, and then we have the Zeo. You define the ports. If you are familiar with Docker Compose, well, it's simple stuff. Then you have the Rancher Compose file, which complement what Docker Compose cannot do. It's basically the multi-host Docker deployment, and it's compatible with the Docker Compose. So here we have we sell how much we want to scale the clients, the Zope clients too. Then here I run a command, Rancher Compose. I say, okay, please build up this stuff from the lab. So I run a command towards the server. I have a key set up. I give up a project name, Plone 5, and I say just up. So now I will upload this YAML file, and you can see on the left there that it's basically creating the Plone instances, the Zeo, and the load balancer. It's connected them, and it started them on different machine. You can see one Plone is on one other, one is on the other. They are linked, so they see each other. Zeo, Plone on one host can see the Zeo on the other. You can view the logs through the web. You can do a lot through the web, but I wanted to show you that you can do everything with one command line, which is much. You can connect to your Jenkins pipeline, so you can do continuous deployment. So, and yeah, here we show you the site is up, running just fresh Plone. So, And as you saw, it takes just 10 seconds. You have a cluster up and on the cloud. You can go in and because all the build out is already run inside the instances, the Docker image. You can see all the each container, what is the memory consumption, the CPU network through the API, through the GUI. And then you can also have a graphical view of it, and also you can look at the configuration, export and import. And it's now version 0.40, I think it's 0.41. They are in beta, and it's open source. You can download and install it. So this was the demo. Here I will show you instead how to do a rolling upgrade. So you have a site already there running. Yeah, I agreed to have a bit more, just a couple of minutes. I will show you the upgrade. Here you say I want to upgrade the app 1, which is already running, to an app 2. So you basically give it a new version. You have a latest version, and you run a command. You say rancher compose. You give the project name, which is the same one, Plone 5, and then you give upgrade command, and then you say what app 1 to app 2, and then the batch size means it's a rolling upgrade, how many at the time you want to switch, every 2, every 1 instance. And here you can see that basically creates a new app 2 with 2 instances of Plone, but it does 1 at a time because I sent batch size 1. You can do 2 at a time. So it's slowly upgrading the site, but the traffic by the load balancer knows which one is up and down. So there is no downtime, basically.